You got parents in your team? As a leader, there's a lot you can do to make the lives of working parents in your teams so much easier, and they will love you for it. This is Productivity ACE. Let's get it done. As a people manager, there's a fair chance that one of your team is a working parent. They may have a newborn and be finding their parental feet, or they might have teenagers or children at university and be pretty experienced at the parenting game, and anywhere in between. And if you're a parent yourself, then the chances are you'll understand some or most of the challenges that a working parent goes through, and as such you'll have a fair idea of what the parents in your team require from you as a leader to allow them to be their best at work. It's a lot more tricky, however, when the person in charge isn't a parent. In situations like that, they may think they know what's needed, but they're lacking the experience themselves. They can't be totally sure. So I've been in both camps. And here are 5 of the most important considerations that a manager needs to have top of mind to help the working parents in their team. And before the tips, well, I'm smashing these videos out week after week, and I know the advice is helping people, but if there's something you want to ask me, then I'm offering career clinic calls where we can jump on a one-to-one conference call and you can ask me about any leadership topic. There's a fair chance I've experienced a lot of the challenges that are bothering you at the moment, and I'm sure I can help. So check the link in the description and let's get on that call. Understand the calendar hotspots. A parent doesn't have the same work calendar as a non-parent. And particularly in these COVID work from home times, the calendar of a working parent can be a complete write-off. It will be subject to all sorts of change and it won't conform to the normal working hours such as 9 to 5. That just doesn't work. Especially if a parent has got younger children, then there are some times in the day that just don't work at all. Meetings at 8 AM or 3 PM? Forget it, that's prime school run time. So if you schedule that key client meeting for those times, it's just going to cause the working parents in your team a huge headache and it won't be appreciated. If there's one thing a working parent gets stressed about, it's managing that twice daily school run. And the last thing they'll want is to be taking their child to school or picking them up at the same time as having their phone glued to their ear on a conference call. So make sure you as a manager understand that working parents have particular hotspots in their calendars. Get into the habit of considering those times potentially as non-work hours. You should never take the availability of your team granted at those times. There may be other hotspots times to avoid as well. After school clubs or other regular activities. I find it useful to ask my team if there's any other slots in the calendar that they'd rather I avoid because of parenting responsibilities. That level of consideration, of empathy, it demonstrates that you understand that parents are going to have unique situations, and that goes a long way to building a real culture of trust and appreciation in your team. Curb your irritations. This is an interesting one and particularly prevalent in COVID work from home time. Especially if you manage parents with younger children that aren't yet at school. There's going to be interruptions. We've already seen it happen in high-profile TV interviews, so it can certainly happen to you. Children walking into video calls, noisy toys in the background, even a distressed child or just wanting their parents' attention. It's going to happen, and for sure it'll happen at times when you rather it didn't. So as a manager, it's vital that you don't let this bother you. You might get irritated that somebody hasn't got their things under control at their end. Why aren't they working in a quiet area? Don't they know this call is important? Why can't they be more, professional? Well, quite simply, it's not them, it's you. Get over it. And this might take some training. In my younger days as a manager, this type of thing used to really irritate me. I used to get really annoyed as to why people couldn't keep children under control or dogs under control like I could, for example. Until I realised there's often nothing that anyone can do about it. It wasn't them that needed to change, it was me. So expect to be interrupted at any time. And as a manager, you've just got to roll with it. Your employee will find the interruption super stressful themselves, so you as a manager can really help their morale by diffusing any hint of irritation and not adding to the problem. They'll know you've got their back. And again, if you build your bond and a trust with the team, it'll go a long way. Don't assume one size fits all. This is especially important if you're a parent yourself as a manager. You'll think you know what a parent needs to work successfully. After all, you've been through it yourself, so you'll have a good idea, right? Wrong. No two situations are the same. What works for one family won't work at all for another. There are 1,000 variables affecting the day-to-day life of a working parent, and those variables can change with the wind. So as a manager, make sure you've connected with your employee and built that empathetic relationship where you've got a good understanding of their specific challenges and situations, the challenges and situations that each of your working parents is experiencing. Do some have multiple schools to deal with, after school clubs, other special requirements? Maybe they're being homeschooled for some of the time. Maybe one child finds the school drop off hard and therefore the school run takes longer for that person. Who knows? Well, you should know. If you've been watching this channel for any length of time, then you'll know the importance of the one-to-one meeting. I've talked about it so many times. The one-to-one meeting is the forum where you, as a manager, can build that relationship and that connection with your employees and get to empathise with and recognise and understand the specific challenges that they have. And when it comes to parenting, that's even more important. And then you can work together to build that framework in the team to give everybody the best chance of success. There are myriad different scenarios a parent can face. So establish that individual connection. It's absolutely vital. Encourage support partners in the team. This one's a pretty useful tip. We've spoken about those hotspots in the calendar and the times where a parent isn't going to be available. Well, I find it useful to unofficially pair people up to act as a support network for each other. Maybe you can pair a parent with a non-parent, so that non-parent can cover those times when a parent may need to take time away to do the school run or other tasks. This obviously depends on the type of job that you and your team do, and in most cases there'll be somebody else in the team that can cover. But if you can use this kind of buddy system, then I've found it can develop really strong relationships within a team, as well as serving to be really useful, especially to the parent, because they'll be comforted by the fact that there's always somebody else in the team that's got their back, as well as you as a manager. Buddy systems generally work pretty well in a number of situations, so keep an eye on this channel for future videos on that very subject. And before we continue, do sign up to our newsletter. We've got free access to our leadership ebooks and Skillshare and other courses for you, as well as loads more info and all the latest happenings on the Productivity ACE channel. If you're into leadership, it's going to be a really useful bulletin. Links in the description. Make work flexible and structured. For a working parent, the definition of a normal week can vary a lot. In fact, there's no such thing. Stuff can change without warning and at any time. And it's generally to do with family and children, then these things are not things that can be ignored. Children get sent home sick from schools. Children get into scrapes. They need picking up. They need taking to chess club, all sorts of stuff. So as a manager, you need to be 100% able and willing to respond accordingly. Structuring the work week for your team helps a lot so that working parents can arrange duties around them, but nothing should be so rigid that it can't be flexible enough to be moved. Especially in this post-pandemic world, giving your employees flexibility is of paramount importance. This allows your working parents to be confident and comfortable when these unpredictable changes happen. They'll have the support of their manager who'll move things around as best they can to accommodate the changing situation. Believe it or not, I've seen managers demand that a working parent doesn't attend a school meeting or actually makes them take time out of their vacation balance for such events. And that doesn't do anything at all for the morale of the employee and seriously compromises their relationship with the boss. So ensure that while structure is in place, so is flexibility. And expect the unexpected, because as any parent will tell you, it's going to happen. And because I love my Productivity ACE supporters so much, here is a bonus tip. Empathise. Empathy is the key to people relationships, not just helping working parents managing their challenges. Because when an employee feels that you really do genuinely care about their personal lives and them as people, as well as their family and other challenges, then they'll deliver more than you could ever imagine. So get to know your people. Remember the names of their children and how old they are. Have they got any specific challenges? If so, make sure you're aware of what's going on and how you can help. The more you can remember, the more you can understand and the more you can empathise. If somebody on your team is suffering, then connect, understand, feel their pain as well. Be sure they know you've got their back and that you know how they feel. This empathetic connection is especially important with working parents, where emotions can be high and situations can be very personal and very difficult. As a manager, if you can understand and empathise with the challenges your working parents are going through, then you'll be well on the way to building that culture of trust and a psychologically safe space for your team. And they'll love you for it. Now, one last thing. Grab yourself a cup of tea and meet me over here in this video, because I'm pretty sure you'll love it. See you there.